Hi everyone and welcome to $1 Million App Ideas. I'm Pietro Messineo, I'm an indie dev and I successfully exited some apps in the past. And that's why I feel comfortable today in giving you some suggestions or even some recommendations on how you can enlarge your app portfolio. So in this new format, we are going to unveil 3 app ideas every week. And for each app, we are gonna see what is the app about, the revenues of the last 3 months, downloads, also how complicated it is to make such an app, and how much the app could worth in case of a potential selling. So the app that we're going to analyze today, or that I actually picked today, is a very particular app. Because it actually allows you to transform your words into video stories. So what does this actually mean? Using AI, you can create beautiful or at least very nice videos. And all of those things for us developers are actually very easy to do because there are third-party APIs which we can interrogate in order to do such a thing. And we don't have to be like storytellers because we can just give few words and then ChatGPT can elaborate the whole text for us. But the reason also why I decided to pick this application is because this app, differently from other apps, is kind of new in this market. The particular app which we are going to analyze today has been released on 31st January and it's actually making quite good amount of money and it's actually growing all the time. So how much money do you think this app made in the last 3 months? Well, it made $24,700. A lot of you have been asking me, Pietro, please stop making videos about apps which makes $10 million. Make smaller apps so we can at least understand if we can place ourselves in a certain niche and if we can actually, let's say, compete against other competitors. And that's why today I'm bringing you this smaller app. It's smaller in terms of revenues yet because I think the monetization model could actually be improved a lot. But it's not small in terms of downloads. So in the last 3 months, it got 138,000 downloads. And so how complicated is to make such an app? Actually is a little bit more complicated than other apps that we saw till today. And we will actually see later on why. So as usual, we are also going to analyze the selling price. And of course, in order to understand what's the selling price of an application, we have to consider several factors, including the revenue trends, profit margins, user growth rates, market potential, and of course, the app sustainability itself. So we usually use a revenue multiplier that moves or that ranges between 3 times and 10 times the yearly revenues. And so if this app made $24,700 last quarter, we multiply by 4, we will obtain a 98,900 annual revenues, which is almost 100K per year, only with one app. And so if we multiply with a basic multiplier, which is 3 times the yearly revenues, we will obtain $296,000, which is almost 300K as an exit for this application. But still consider that this application is slowly growing and basically has been released on January 31st, which is still just few months since the release date, and the app is still growing and growing and growing. So I expect that there may be 2 scenarios, or this app will just reach the $30,000 a month and not in a quarter, or this app is gonna just drop down as other competitors and slowly die. That's why usually companies do not buy apps which are less than 1 year on the App Store, so they can see what's more or less the average trend of the app itself in terms of revenues. And so how can I make such an app? So as I said, it's an app which we gave a 6, or which I gave a 6 out of 10 ratings of complexity. So I was analyzing this app very carefully, and I can tell you which are the tools that they use. Do not ask me how I did that. Just assume, am I right and am I correct, which I actually am, after carefully analyzing the source code of this application without actually having access to the source code. And so I found out that they do actually use Stable Diffusion, and they do actually use Juggernaut XL It's an AI version of the Stable Diffusion, which actually creates photorealistic pictures or whatever. Yeah. Moreover, for cloning the voice and actually for creating the storyteller voice, they do use 11 Labs. It's a website which basically allows you to use text to speech and a lot of other tools. So you give a text and then it generates a audio file MP3 of the text that you gave them. So basically there are already more than thousands already generated voice, like the voice of Lara Croft, the voice of Homer Simpson, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and so on and so on. You give text to them and they will generate an MP3 file for you that will basically read that text. And of course, they also use ChatGPT or some other generative tools in order to generate the script. So how does all of these things works under the hood together? So this company, which made this application, is owning their own API. They built their own backend, which actually communicate with an instance of AWS serverless. And so in this serverless AWS instance, they run, for what I actually understood, I may be wrong, I don't think so, they run the Stable Diffusion for the creation of the images. So of course they can't create images without actually knowing which is the prompt for the image generation. So when you open the app for the first time, I have it on my phone, but I cannot actually show it right now. When you open the app for the first time, you need to select the style of the video that you want to generate. You need to put how many seconds the video must be, and then you will have to write just few sentences for guide the generation of the script. So you don't actually have to write the whole script, because just writing few words, for example, I want a cartoon of a man or of a little boy which wants to become an astronaut to go to Mars. These words that you wrote inside the application are being sent to the GPT model. The GPT model is elaborating a full text of a small story, short story. And from this short story, it's also elaborating images prompts that are being sent to the Stable Diffusion instance on the serverless on AWS. And then it's generating images which are gonna fit into the whole, let's say, video. And they are gonna being sent back to the user. And then the application is basically putting them one after each other with some transition animations. And of course, the script that has been generated by the GPT model is then being sent to 11 Labs. 11 Labs is sending back to the developers the MP3 audio. And so it's then putting all the things together, images, audio, MP3 audio, and generating this video of transition in between images of the story that you actually ask it to. So that's why it's a little bit more complicated than usual. But actually, 11 Labs offers APIs. The Stable Diffusion actually do not offer APIs. That's why they created their own AWS instance. But you may want to use Replicate and Stable Diffusion, which is fairly cheap. Probably it's not cheaper than AWS, but whatever. And you have APIs for that as well. And you can maybe use ChatGPT, which has APIs. And if you use the 3.5, it's fairly cheap compared to the amount of money that you actually ask for. And that's where we are moving. How about the monetization? Which type of monetization strategy do they actually use? They have, of course, subscription. They have a $6.99 weekly subscription and $49.99 yearly subscription. And then they even give you an offer time to time, if you do not accept both of them, with a $29.99 yearly offer. And so as usual, the question is, how can I get downloads so my app will just be known and I will start to get money from it? Well, you can cooperate with an influencer or maybe an Instagram influencer on Twitter, TikTok, whatever. You can cold mailing some blogs. You can even do some ASO improvements in order to have great keywords that will rank you up on top of the list on App Store. And if you have some budgets, like this company actually has, maybe, you can spend them for Apple Search Ads. You can use Apple Search Ads Basic, just set up few things in order to have a low eCPM or download per install. And here we go. So the app that I was analyzing today is called Video GPT AI video generator. So just go download it, check it out. You don't have to subscribe. It's free for a few video generations, I think. So yeah, just go and test it out. That wraps up our app idea of the day. I hope that this concept sparked inspiration for your upcoming app portfolio. As usual, little disclaimer, all the data that you saw here related to downloads and revenues are coming from public tools, so should be considered as estimates, even though I actually found out in the past few months and years that they are pretty much accurate. So do not forget to follow me on Twitter and to subscribe to the Discord community where I share more insights about apps and monetization strategies, and see you at next video.